Welcome back, everybody. What's up? What's up? We got another special treat. We have Kerrang! This is issue number 14, April 22nd through May 5th of 1982. We're in succession of 1982. This is the best of 80s heavy metal. I'm giving you Kerrang! Magazine. We're going to flip through the pages and see what was up, what was happening in 80s heavy metal, page by page. Any questions, comments, or feedback, leave them below. Any requests, leave them below. Let's get started. I'm Tony, you're at KGTR, and let's go. Here is the beautiful cover of Kerrang! Issue number 14. Look at Richie Blackmore with a bass cello. Is this a cello or a bass? Can be a bass. I don't know my old instrument, but look, I'll call it a bass. But here he is. It could be a cello, who knows? Look, exclusive Richie Blackmore interview. So as with other issues, if there's any interview you want me to cover, I'll be more than happy to revisit that interview. Via upload with just I can read the interview out loud with you one-on-one. So if you're ever interested on a interview you can't have access to, I'll give you access to all the interviews, okay? I have the inside scoop. I have an inside scoop and track to all these old interviews that are out of print, out of publication, and I can get them for you. Just say, Tony, get me this interview and I'll make a video. That's all you gotta do. All right, we have Asia, Cozy Powell, Joan Jett, Silverwing, Doc Hollywood, Wishbone, Ash, Foreigner. We have Riggs, Scorpions, Loverboy, Journey, and Wolf. That's who is in this issue. Again, we're going to go page by page. We're just going to go through the pages quickly, look at the pictures, comment on anything that pops out. And again, any interviews, I'll be happy to visit with you later. All right, here we go. We open up the magazine and we got Mayhem. That's a standard column right here. And it pretty much gives you the inside buzz, the latest buzz in 80s metal. Look at Gene Simmons. Check out Sammy Hagar. Who's this? I don't know who that is. I can't tell you who that is. Oh, Ted Nugent and Ann Wilson? Oh yeah, this is Ted Nugent and Ann Wilson of Heart. Look at that photo right there. Look at little Gene Simmons. So this is 1982 after The Elder. Remember The Elder? All right. Trust, Savage, the new album and cassette. Savage, Trust. All right, so Savage has a new album called Trust. If you want to check it out, go on YouTube, and you can pretty much find any band, artist, music album on YouTube. Just type in Savage, Trust album, and I'm sure you can find this and see. Let me know what you think about Savage. Not Sabotage, but Savage. Alright, there's Steve Howe from Asia. Again, so this would have been the left side of the poster. Because I had to scan it, that's what you get. And there he is right there. And all that color, full-blown glory. There's Steve Howe. An Eastern Promise. Steve Gett, the #1 interviewer for Kerrang!, talks to ex-Yes guitarist Steve Howe. They didn't say Asian guitarist, they said ex-Yes guitarist. Why? Because Yes was really popular, and Steve Howe, John Anderson, and Chris Squire were Yes. You take John Anderson out, it's not Yes. You take Chris Squire out of Yes, it's no longer Yes. You take Steve Howe out of Yes, it's no longer Yes. But you take him out, now he's with Asia. Look at him going off right here, look. Here's a nice column interview with Steve Howe. Status Quo, 1982. Again, I only heard about Status Quo through Live Aid, 1985. And so check out Live Aid performance, Status Quo, you'll see them. I think they opened up the show. But here's Status Quo. The new album includes the hit single, Dear John. Never heard of it? And again, but you can check them out live on Live Aid. Right? These are the UK's top 30 cuts, their top 30 hits. These are the latest tour news. We got Queen. What else do we have here? Spider. There's a band called Spider. There's Queen right there. Frank Zappa was on tour. What else? Marillion was on tour. So just giving you some news and tidbits on that right there. Right, more Mayhem again. The latest news and buzz for 80s heavy metal. Who's this? Bernie Torme. On his help with Ozzy. So this is pretty cool. Remember, I've always referenced Randy Rhoads. We're now into the April issue of Kerrang! But since he passed away March 12th, Randy Rhoads, he immediately got guitar wizard Bernie Torme, and Bernie Torme filled in after Randy passed for a couple of shows before the gig was taken over by Brad Gillis. So I think he, from what I remember, he was honored to do the tour. He enjoyed the tour, but it was not for him. I guess he didn't feel comfortable playing Randy's music or touring so quickly right after his death, which was kind of odd, but I guess, you know, the show must go on, right? The show must go on. Ticket sales, you got an album to promote and whatnot, and you lose your star guitar player. But you can basically take a break and mourn, or you can get back in the saddle. That's what Ozzy did. But there's some shows on YouTube. If you type in Ozzy Osbourne Live 1982 Bernie Torme, I'm sure you can find a couple of live bootlegs out there with Bernie Torme. He did pretty good, but again, I think he just, from what I recall or remember, and I could be wrong, he didn't feel comfortable doing it for too long, so he bowed out. Wasn't fired, but he just bowed out, said thank you, but no thank you. And that's where enter Brad Gillis came in. So kudos to Bernie Torme, because those are some pretty big shoes to fill in such a short amount of time. So here's a little thing about Bernie Torme with Ozzy Osbourne. You want me to talk about that? I'll be happy to. Honest Gub. Cozy Powell opens up his heart and his mouth to Steve Gett about Michael Schenker Group, Rainbow, cars, money, and when he's going to pack it in all in. Well, my guess is probably packed it in 1983-84, because I never heard of him after that, right? I think he already left Michael Schenker Group, so who knows? Or maybe he was still in Michael Schenker Group. Well, who knows? There he is. So see, he's living it up, spending his money on cars right there. Right, there he is right there. That's a very expensive car back in 1982. So, and here he is right there, Cozy Powell. You want to look him up? Look him up online. Go to YouTube, type in Cozy Powell. I'm sure you can find his works on YouTube. Everything is on YouTube, right? That's a cool poster though, right there. All right, here we go. Look at this. Michael Schenker and Scorpions. So Michael Schenker joined Matthias Jabs and Rudolph Schenker, his brother. The two brothers right here. Older brother, younger brother. And look, they're both playing the Flying V right here. Iconic black and white Flying V. This was that Super Strat I was telling you about, that Matthias Jab in 1982. I think he custom made this one himself. This is like his own little Franken Strat. He's got one single humbucker right here. Why? Who did that? Eddie Van Halen did that. This guitar has a Floyd Rose. You can see it right up here. This guitar has a Floyd Rose locking tremolo. And I think this is the guitar he used to play Blackout on Scorpions. Remember No One Like You? But the album and the track Blackout, the opening riff and the dive bomb, this is the guitar. And I think he only had one guitar with a Floyd Rose. Matthias Jabs at that time. But this was his Super Strat. Isn't that cool? So that's a cool photo. And it's a cool photo to see. So there may be some footage out there with Michael Schenker playing with his brother Rudolph and Matthias Jabs. Right. No Cheatin', Cheetah Rock and Roll. From the Edge of Darkness, coming next issue. All right. Nice little flyer ad right there. Silver Wings personal column. All right. So we're not going to worry about this. But there's some ins and outs of the column. Again, you want me to dive deeper into this issue? I'll be more than happy to. All right. Here's Silver Wing. Now, I never heard of Silver Wing back in 1982. Notice how there was no Silver Wing in the earlier 82 issues or 1981 issue. So they must have came out of nowhere from the UK or England. So look up Silver Wing Heavy Metal Band 1982 on YouTube. Let me know what you find. All right, look at Joan Jett. I love rock and roll. That song put her on the map. Now everybody compared her to, what was that artist on Happy Days? Leather Tuscanero. Remember Leather Tuscanero? So some people thought she was the real Leather Tuscanero. There was Pinky Tuscanero, the older sister, but here's Leather Tuscanero, the knockoff, Joan Jett. But she was good. I love that song. Was another great anthem. One of the best anthems of the 80s. Remember, Kids though had Love It Loud. I love it loud, love it loud. Hey, that was Kiss's anthem. And then a lot of bands started having anthems. So. But Joan Jett, look at this Joan Jett with her Gibson right here. Pretty cool, right? Joan Jett was good. Right? Toll's Tame Beast. Jethro Tull, remember Jethro Tull? Still trying to be relevant in 1982. There he is right there. Eyes Right. Rainbow. So here's Rainbow right there. The Imports. Heavy Metal Album 1. Heavy Metal Album 1. Steel Heart. Was there a Steel Heart back then? That must be old then. I know there's a Steel Heart in the mid-late 80s. I wonder if that's the same band. I don't know. Look at Richie Blackmore plays piccato strings. Right? Rainbow. So see, this is the Rainbow I remember. Obviously, there's Smoke on the Water, right? But this one right here, Straight Between the Eyes, they had a tour. They were touring in 1982, and they had an MTV concert. And their number one hit, or their best hit on that album, was Stone Cold. Look, see? It includes the hit single Stone Cold. And that one has a really good guitar solo by Richie Blackmore, playing with a flanger. A very low threshold flanger effect. But that guitar solo is all flanger. And it's a good solo. It's not fast, but it's very melodic. It's nice. Someone out there should learn that guitar solo for Stone Cold Richie Blackmore. Look it up. It's a good video and a great solo. Alright, the Rainbow Story again. Where it all started with Rainbow, Richie Blackmore, their future, what did they foresee? Look, from previous page, all about Rainbow. Look, Richie Blackmore, who did this back in 1984-85? I'll tell you who did that. Yngwie Malmsteen, right here. This is the Yngwie Malmsteen pose. Obviously, Richie did it first, but Yngwie totally copied Richie Blackmore. That's a fact. Just look at the early, look at the shows with Yngwie and Alcatraz. It's out there. You'll see, just type in Alcatraz Yngwie live. You'll see a couple of live performances there. And he's just like total Richie Blackmore. Alright, here's Richie Blackmore right there. More Richie Blackmore Rainbow. Stone Cold. Look, the Rainbow Story. So this is a big story on Rainbow if you're interested. Rainbow's history again. So this is a very heavy, for you Rainbow fans, I'll be happy to summarize this whole interview column article on Rainbow if you want me to. Look at this, all Rainbow. Look, Richie Blackmore. We've already got what, 6 pages of Rainbow? That's pretty extensive. Right, contact. Again, you want to contact record companies, labels, your favorite band. Look at Rick Emmett right here. Rick Emmett was on fire with Triumph in 1982. So there we go right there. Armed and Ready. So look, these are new bands to watch out for. So basically they're like telling you, hey, check out these guys. Check these guys out. Or watch them on tour. Wicked, look how they spell Wicked. Wicked Vicar. Now that's a dumb name right there. Wicked Vicar. Or Wicked Vicar. They're trying to be evil like Iron Maiden. Get it? Wicked Vicar. Or Wicked Vicar. Iron Maiden, get it? Renegade. When I hear Renegade, I think of Styx. So already the name fails. Riff Raff. That name's kind of lame also. You want to have a cool name, right? But Riff Raff, I don't know, it sounds juvenile to me. Renegade reminds me of Styx, so if you're a fan of Styx, or you don't like Styx, you're not going to go watch Renegade. And Wicked Vicar is like kind of like a lame-o name. In case in point, this is 1982. Did you ever hear of them in 1982, 83, 84? No, you didn't. Because they weren't part of the 80s heavy metal scene with Def Leppard, Quiet Riot, and Motley Crue. Remember, those 3 bands had amazing albums in 83. Then you had the S Festival. So these bands don't make the cut, in my opinion. Look, Saracen. I've never heard of Saracen. Now, I'm not saying they're not good. But these bands are obviously from the UK. They didn't cross over to the US with popularity or on MTV. So I don't know of anybody. Hey, I'm gonna go check out Saracen. I'm gonna go look at Wicked Vicar. Sorry, it doesn't cut it. Right, Wishbone Ash. I've never heard of Wishbone Ash. I don't know if this is heavy metal. This could be like new wave rock. Who knows? Someone look up Wishbone Ash. Let me know what you think of them. Right, Doc Holliday. I heard of the band. Look at the Confederate flag right there. So look up Doc Holliday on YouTube and let me know what you think. All right, upcoming concerts: Scorpions with Wolf Trilogy. All right, and then we got Baron Rojo Stray, Red Baron Stray. All right, Dumpy's Rusty Nuts, Full House Grand Prix. Again, remember the band Grand Prix from the last issue? I still have yet to hear anything from Grand Prix, but maybe after this video I'll go to YouTube and check out Grand Prix. All right, Guitar Heroes, Mick Jones from Foreigner. Again, this is like the third, remember? This is like the third guitar player that's had this beautiful Gibson Les Paul with all black, but with the white binding. Remember, in a previous issue I mentioned this guitar already with black DiMarzio Super Distortion pickups right here. These are black. These are DiMarzio Super Distortions black. The black pickguard with the white binding. The black Les Paul all black, but with white binding. Isn't that pretty cool? So that's not a bad. That's the third guitar player now that's had that. All right, Riggs. So here's because I had to scan it this way. Here's the band Riggs. I never heard of Riggs, but I may need to check them out on YouTube. Riggs. All right, Blinded by the Lights. Jeff Harold. All right. So there's that. Light Handle Like Yes, Van Halen and Girl, Jeff Harold. Isn't that cool? Kilowatt. Alright, more crosswords. Look at Kiss and Tell. Now this was like the Dynasty era right here. Or this could be the Elder era or the Dynasty era. Pen pals. You want to write letters to your favorite pen pal? Go be my guest. Classifieds, pen pals, special notices. Situations vacant. Records for sale. So basically, if you were lucky enough to post on this ad or magazine, you pay advertisement and you can basically reach thousands of people all across the country. Right? Books for headbangers. Isn't that pretty cool? Books for headbangers. This is probably a brief history of these bands or their songbooks with the chords. Right? Back numbers and issues. Remember, we have this one. We have that one. We have this one. Remember, we have this one. We have that one. This one. We have this one. So look, I just did all these right now, right? I have this one. I have this one. And this one. I have this one. And this one. Look, so all of these right now, we've already covered here at KGTV. So if you don't want to go out and find the issues or buy the issues, I'll be more than happy to share them with you. All right, there's Loverboy. Again, remember I mentioned the red jeans? So I'm not a fan of red leather. I'm not a fan of red leather. Red jeans are okay, but not red leather. Again, here's a little bandana. I'm trying to look tough. They weren't tough, but they were good. They wrote good songs. They were good. I would put them up there with like a Journey and Night Ranger type of band. So if you want to describe Loverboy, you put them up there with like a Night Ranger or Journey type of band, and you got Loverboy. I'm not saying it's a cross between those, but that group of genre. It's not like heavy metal Van Halen, right, or Queensryche, but it's like Journey or Night Ranger. So, but they're good. Loverboy's really good. Right, here's Wolf. The name sounds very familiar, but I don't think I've ever heard of any of their songs. So someone go on YouTube and type in Wolf Heavy Metal 1982, and I'm sure you can find either some live footage or some releases on there. Right, look. Isn't that sad? Remember I told you? This is April issue, and already the tributes are pouring in. Randy Rose, rest in peace. Now this is just too small for me to read. Let me see if I can blow it up. Hold on. There it is. Okay, wait, hold on. Alright, here we go. Sadly missed by All in Brum. Not only an up-and-coming guitarist, but given the chance, he could have become the best. Consolations to Ozzy Osbourne, who must be in the pits at the moment. We love you both. Well, yes and no. And I'm not saying he didn't grieve. Everyone grieves differently. But he sure did pick up the pieces quickly and found Bernie Tomei and then found Brad Gillis to fill in Randy's shoes. Some people, all opinion, dude, you should have mourned longer. You should have helped, canceled your tour and resumed 4 months later. But everyone's different. You probably got contracts and people to pay off, and you got to make money. So the show must go on, as they say. And it's not like they lost Ozzy, they lost a guitar player. And guitar players are a dime a dozen. You can learn the material, you can make sure people are getting paid, earning their money, and the show must go on. Right? Similar messages of condolences were received at Kerrang from the following: Tony Haslam and Jade, Battersea, London, David Lee, Hole, Andy Richardson, Gerald, I don't know who these people are, the Panther, Mark Lewis. So all these people are submitting their tributes to Randy Rhoads, which I think is really nice, right? It's nice. So let's zoom back out. There we go. And back out. And there we go. Alright, so that is the little tribute to Randy Rhoads that this issue had, which I didn't know. So I'm glad I read it out loud. But it's nice that he's still acknowledged in April. Remember, it's only been like a month. He died March 12th, and this issue came out in April. So you got to keep his memory alive. Alright. I remember, I think it was sometime in June or July, they played at Irvine Meadows, and that one was recorded live for MTV. Right. So here's some more buzz and happenings right here. Look, Bon Scott, rest in peace, right? Bon Scott, the lead singer for AC/DC, rest in peace. The negative features in Kerrang alphabet. The negative features. Let's see what this has to say. Alright, is that good for you guys? A is for the A to Z, the satin-clad pups. B is for the brainless sheep who absorb heavy metal stuff. C is for the corny new groups who in the mag are overrated. See? Right? There are a lot of corny new groups like Wicked Victor and all that. Wicked, all these weird bands. D is for David Lee Roth, who ought to be castrated. E is for everyone who enjoys a good skit. F is for the fairies who don't appreciate our wit. G is for the Gordic Get who has ruined AC/DC. H is for the horses wild, really asses as we see. I is for Iron Maiden's Big Gob Ruth. J is for Judas Priest, farts running loose, and on and on and on. That's pretty cool. So obviously, we're talking about the Kerrang's alphabet. Let me back this out right here. And there we go. Alright, what's next? Alright, look at your look. This is a beautiful Gibson destroyer right here. Explorer? Explorer, right? This is an Explorer or Destroyer. But here's a fin right there. So that's pretty cool. I like it. Oh no, that's his pants. So there's that guitar. I love this guitar. I always wanted this guitar. So maybe one day I'll get it. Oh, that was it. Okay, I take it back. Look. So this right here is the back cover of the magazine featuring Rainbow. So I hope you like this issue of Kerrang featuring Rainbow. This had like about 10 pages of the history of Rainbow. So if you want me to highlight any portion of it, I'll be happy to. Alright, let me know your thoughts on this issue of Kerrang. Let me know what you thought about Kerrang as compared to Cream, Hit Radio, and Circus. Did you buy Kerrang? Do you have any Kerrang magazines? You donate them, chuck them, destroy them, like most of us have. Alright, I'm Tony. Have any questions, comments, or feedback? Leave them below. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all in the next video.